Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Jules Leyhe. I have a very special lesson today. This is a topic that is not really talked about. I'm not sure how many people actually know about this technique that we're talking about in today's lesson. The only person that I've really seen address this specifically head on, and he's correct, is Greg Koch. It's good old Greg Koch, rhymes with chalk, a guitar hero of mine for the last 20 years. I've learned a lot from Greg. He's just a monster. If you don't know him, you got to check out Greg Koch. But I've seen Greg talk about this when it comes to slide guitar playing. And it's funny. Greg is hitting the nail on the head here. The person who does this the most, and the way you might be familiar with this technique, is Derek Trucks. And so what we're going to talk about is fretting with the slide. And this is like kind of counterintuitive. And before I go into the lesson, I already said Derek Trucks, but I want to let everybody know out there, I have a Derek Trucks Masterclass course that's a really deep dive into all of his techniques, his sounds, his licks. I expand upon techniques like this, fretting with the slide, a lot more in this class. Every purchase of the class helps fuel my YouTube channel too. So I'd really hope that you guys would check it out. Everybody who's checked it out already has really been loving it. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. Really appreciate it. Now, back to the main event today. This fretting with the slide rather, is definitely counterintuitive. Usually, when we think about slide guitar playing, we want to do things like be able to go. Right, where clearly I wasn't hitting any frets there. We are literally avoiding the frets with our slide, right? But now what we're going to do today is the opposite. We're going to actually fret with the slide. So I have two songs that are great ways to work on this technique. The first one is Ain't Wasting Time No More, which is one of my favorite Allman Brothers tunes. And then the second one is Midnight in Harlem. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to focus on certain parts of the scale where, we've got a couple of things to get through. But you'll see why I'm choosing those two tunes. They're a great exercise for this technique. And the songs having different tonalities. Ain't Wasting Time being sort of like B-flat, Lydian. Certainly blues, but like sort of Lydian if you're thinking about it as a mode. And then Midnight in Harlem because of its E major sound. And the things that we get these different half steps that are really cool to work this technique out. I'm blabbing about it for a sec before I start playing. But the thing about this is that now I'm going to kind of overdo it in this lesson today. I'm really trying to make a point here. But what I want you guys to try to do is get your guitar set up so that you can both play slide comfortably. And here, let me just play a little bit of slide. So you could see I was playing slide. I wasn't hitting any frets. That's like slide. Awesome. Great. Just as we know and think about it. But now I'm going to apply a little bit more pressure with my slide to physically fret the notes. Like I said, I'm overdoing this a little bit because I really want you to hear the sound. I'm going to back off a little bit in a minute to show you kind of how it's, more usable in a musical sense. But right now, we're in the workshop. We're going to overdo this technique. So I'm staying in B flat for this example, and I'm going to fret a lot of these notes with the slide. Check this out. Hopefully this sounds kind of familiar if you're already familiar with Derek Trucks' playing. But here we go. Here's fretting with the slide. So you could see there, and some of this, it's funny. I was going heavy-handed, so some of it might be kind of like, yeah, that's a bit much. It is a bit much, but what we're going to get to is blending that, fretting with the slide technique, with just playing our notes as we normally would with the slide. Now, before I do that, though, I want to explain what's happening here, because let's say we're playing a line like this. So that wasn't fretting any of the notes. But the cool thing is that the fret, this is kind of like bowling with bumpers or something. Like what would normally be a gutter ball, like a super pitchy note if you're in the middle of a fret or something. If we're fretting with the slide, we actually get to play those notes on pitch. They're in tune and they sound really good. And what it can do is it can buy you, it buys you a little bit of time, and it makes it so that it's easier to play these really fast runs. You can kind of whiz your slide around, and the pitches that you're going to hit are going to be more in tune. You're ending up just fretting the note with the slide. There's more that ends up happening with the fret that's very cool. Like it's a textural thing. Normally with the glass slide, especially on a string, it's a pretty smooth sound, right? But now we get this kind of friction that's really pleasing. And, with a delicate touch and a lot of control, you can really get expressive with the fret, which is great because now you don't just have to avoid the fret, okay? There's like this other dimension to our slide playing now, which is how hard am I actually pushing down with the slide? So as I just played that little 3 or 4 note riff a second ago, check this out. Here I am fretting that same idea, okay? I'm going to go back and forth so you can see the comparison between both styles. So you can see, I'm curious if you could hear when I was really fretting the notes and then when I wasn't. I'm going to try to play that sort of thing once more right now, and I want you to focus in on that part because I've gone heavy-handed, and it's a bit much to do this all the time. It's kind of like when you first learned how to do this, right? Some like Eddie Van Halen style finger tapping. While that's really cool, you don't want to just do that all the time, right? I'm sure you get it. Any technique that's great, you don't want to just do it all day or else it becomes kind of boring, right? So now I'm going to try to make this a little more musical. Try to, this is like punctuation. This is like having an exclamation point in your back pocket or something. So you can really use it to like emphasize a line or a note. It really exclaims something, right? I really want to equip you guys with just more tools in your slide guitar belt so that you're able to express yourself. Because I think that this is a technique. I don't see a ton of people doing this. I see fretting behind the slide, something like this. And, that's just a super quick example. But this fretting with the slide thing is like kind of untapped territory, except for Derek Trucks. And I think the only person I've ever heard talking about this is Greg Koch. So, I'd hope that maybe somebody's inspired by this and ends up doing some cool stuff with it in their own playing. And then, we can learn what they're doing, right? That's the whole idea here. So let me go back to Ain't Wasting Time sort of sound, B flat. And I'm going to just try to mix it in and try to use it more tastefully and less workshoppy, but more like now I'm actually playing some music and I'm not going to overdo it, right? Here we go. Cool. So another thing is that, it's kind of tricky to do this just out of context and, sort of me just right here. I'm trying to find the right balance of getting both things across. So I think you guys can tell that this is a great new technique to add to your playing and just simply trying it out. Here, let me show you. I'm going to just like slow this way down and show you what it sounds like. Here's not fretting. Right? Going really slowly. Here's fretting. So now I'm going to let's talk about the minor pentatonic. That I was just playing some minor pentatonic right there, right? I can throw my slide around with much more abandon. I can just like throw it and target, I can throw it around and target certain frets. I'm going to play those notes way more in tune now. Check this out. Right? You recognize that sound? That's the goal with this. It's super cool to just go. You can see there's also this like, critical mass sense of like, it's like you're, you can, I like the phrase overwhelming the pitch. Like if I'm throwing my slide up to the 7th, so this is like, what is this? Gosh, this would be like the 21st fret up here. Hear those harmonics that I'm getting? There's a lot more action there. That was really cool. There was a harmonic there that really popped. That's what happens. There's more action in the note. If you're actually using the fret, there's this byproduct of this whole technique too, which is that I think a lot of people really feel super careful with the slide. I'm generally careful, but I'm not like this. It's not like slow and easy does it. It's much more like. Right? It's precision. And now I'm not super worried about a light touch. I can actually push down on the strings. And it's not bad. Your notes sound good. They sound in tune. They're fretting out. We're actually using the fret. Light bulb moment for slide guitar, okay? Now, I mentioned that I wanted to do this over Midnight in Harlem as well. And this, I am not trying to sound exactly like Derek right now. I've probably got a little too much overdrive. So for anybody out there, this is, I'm not concerned with copying him right now, as much as this is sort of a technique that he's using and that I'm obviously referring to his, tunes that he might play on. I want you guys to use this technique in a way that works for you. Maybe you write a song or something, and this is, so as cool as it is that he might use this technique, it's kind of just like Eddie Van Halen with tapping, You don't want to just come out and play Eruption at your gig. That maybe you want to play it, but that's not the only thing you'd want to do with a technique like that, okay? I just want to make that clear because I know some people get to be like, well, why'd you only talk about that one way? I want to inspire something in your own playing by showing you this technique, okay? So one of the most useful ways of using this technique is with a half step in your scale. Because let's see, so in the key of E, Midnight in Harlem, we have a half step from the 7th to the root. And if you simply fret that half step, The other half step that we have is the third to the fourth, right? Right? That's a really cool way to just, you can, there's so much info right there. There's so much interesting playing. There's this element of texture that's just not there if you're avoiding the fret. So let me do the same thing that I did before with Ain't Wasting Time, where I'm now going to be playing an E major, and I'm going to really kind of probably focus on the top couple strings. But check this out. This is such a great way for this technique to shine. I feel like in the sort of Indian classical music influence that Derek has specifically, this is like really coming out of that sort of sound. A lot of just really interesting ways of manipulating the notes. Like you can have 2 or 3 notes, and if you're actually fretting, there's a lot more to say now than just sliding from the notes, okay? I know I talk a lot when I'm talking about this stuff. I want to expand upon the idea. I don't want to just say, do this, and then play a couple of things. Really do want you guys to like wrap your head around it and then have something to go do on your own, okay? So apologies to all the haters out there. Feel free to write to me in the comments. Tell me you don't like that or whatever. Apologies. But here is Midnight in Harlem with some fretting the note. And here we go. So you can see that half step thing is maybe the most useful place to use this. And let me just spell that out super clearly. Like a great place to practice this might be at the 11th fret of the first string. You can even just play your major scale and fret the whole thing. That's a great way to practice this. Like I said, this buys you speed. You can just kind of play faster than you would if you had to make sure that you were on top of the fret to play in tune by not fretting. So check this out. I'm gonna purposefully put my foot on the gas pedal here, go faster, and show you how nice the intonation is. The notes are way more in tune than they would be if I wasn't fretting. Pretty darn cool. And I was whizzing around there. I was just paying attention to, my half steps, my whole steps. Now, just a little cool, if you've watched the lesson this far, here's a cool little thing. I really appreciate you guys watching this far. Thank you. If you want to, you can also, like Lydian really sounds good with this. So this goes back to what I just said a second ago. This really sounds more like that sort of Indian classical influence in Derek's playing. So check this out. Here we go. This adds another half step, but in a different place. This would be in the key of E. This would be your B flat to your B, or it's technically a raised fourth, so it'd be your A sharp to your B, right? Right? That's a great example of this fretting with the slide. That's what I would want you guys to try to get into your own playing. This texture, harmonics are popping. It's sort of a special technique. I know I've brought up tapping a few times. You don't want to overdo this. I'm probably overdoing this mostly in this video. It's because it's new, and I'm not just showing you a new lick in a certain territory or something. This is a new technique. This is a new sound. You just don't want to overdo this. I would encourage you now, if you're watching some Derek solos, you're going to probably see this way more in his playing now that your eyes have been open to this technique. So keep your eyes and ears out for that when you're watching him. Let me know if you run into some like kind of weird part of it when you're actually practicing. I'd love to hear how this goes for you guys. I'm not kidding when I feel like this is a pretty untapped, it's not a secret technique, but it's not really discovered. It's not that well known. And it's a pretty darn cool technique. I'm trying to figure out the balance in my own playing of being able to do this. As cool as it is to do things like have a Derek Trucks technique in your playing, I definitely don't want to just copy him. And sometimes I'll really kind of be thinking in that style and start to sound a little bit like him. But when I'm actually playing, a solo, I definitely want to have my own thing going on too. So you want to be aware of that. That's, that is for sure. But I've also, I don't know, it is funny because the older I get, the more I just think, you know what? Music's really cool. Whether you're copying somebody, if you're playing in a cover band and you guys play the song note for note, that's really cool. If you play your own version of a song and you kind of mutilate it, that's really cool too. There's no best one way of doing it. I've gone through chunks of time in my music career where I was really trying to find my own sound and do something that sounded unique to me. And, that's a great thing to chase. That's really great. I definitely am aware of that. I want to have my own sort of sound carved out. But I've spent so much time copying as closely as I could. Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jeff Beck, Duane Allman, Derek Trucks, David Lindley, Sonny Landreth, you name it. The B.B. King, Buddy Guy. The list goes on. I think there's a lot to be said for doing all of this stuff. So that's just a really great, that's a big point to make because I wouldn't worry too much about, I'm starting to sound too much like somebody right now. That's okay. It's going to be okay. That's fine. I play in an Allman Brothers cover band, and it's so much fun. These guys are great. They're some of my best friends. It's some of the most fun music to play. And even in that context, like I'm taking those solos on Statesboro Blues, Ain't Wasting Time, Don't Keep Me Wondering, you name it. We're playing the whole thing. And I love to quote some of the solos. I love to, show that I really know the music. And then I love to go off on my own and, kind of spruce it up with my own thing. So that's kind of just a nice way of wrapping up this lesson because I don't want you guys to go, well, now I sound too much like Derek. No, you don't, and no, I don't either. We don't. You still sound like yourself. It's cool. We don't have to worry about copying too much. And that's sort of, I have more to say about that. I really feel strongly about music just being like, if you're playing from your heart, you guys are doing it right. That's the most important thing, man. So that does it for today's lesson. I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about this technique. Hopefully this opened your eyes to a new way of playing, made you just feel more comfortable in, if you're fretting with your left hand when you're playing slide, hopefully this hand has some more freedom to just sort of dig in now. You can actually you can fret with the slide. Who knew? The other thing, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, is that you're definitely, this will also check your guitar's action. My action is set low enough that I can play chords, I can fret, and I feel like I have just sort of the perfect balance. It's sort of like a blues setup. It's like medium low action. And I'm a slide player, I don't have super high action. If you've seen any of my other videos, I've talked about this in the past. I've had super high action for a long time playing slide. And now I'm really glad I don't. While I'm in open tuning, I'm in open E tuning, and that is, its own sort of world. I'm definitely able to do most of the things that I need to right here on this guitar. I can take a fretted solo without my slide. That feels comfortable. I can play chords without the slide. And then I can throw the slide on, and what do you know? I'm comfortable in this tuning, this action. It's all working for me. So that's another thing that, this really is going to do, is reveal to you, how does my guitar feel to me? How does the action feel? How do the strings feel? Can I do all the things that I really need to? Anyway, I really appreciate you guys checking this video out. Thank you so much. I'll catch you in the next one. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, I'm putting videos like this out all the time. And in 2025, I have a lot of plans to really expand the channel, develop these lessons much further. So just know that I'm working on it, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next lessons that are following up. Catch you guys soon. Thank you so much. Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Jules Leyhe. I'm thrilled to announce that my Derek Trucks Slide Guitar Masterclass is now available. This class is over 2 hours of in-depth study of Derek Trucks' greatest licks, his signature sounds. Everything that you're going to learn in this course is designed to make you a better player and ultimately make you sound more like yourself. I'm a Berklee College of Music graduate and a professional musician of the last 15 years. I've shared the stage with Buddy Guy, Jimmy Vaughn, Chris Kane, and a slew of other blues greats. They've taken me under their wing and have taught me so many things that I want to now share with you guys. Check the link in my bio or julesleyhemusic.com to get your Derek Trucks Slide Guitar Masterclass today.